All right, welcome back to Mr. G's EV Hangout, another episode, and we got a roundtable discussion tonight. We're going to highlight some projects, and we're going to talk about some cool stuff on the horizon. Plus, we got a special guest tonight, Ron Biegel. How you doing?
Hiya.
So Biegel represents the new person a person who's a hot rodder working on a project car. Him and his son. What a great project. We're going to show you the project. And you think about it. So this is someone who has some engineering background. They got a little pet project in the garage. Where do they start? They want to convert their car. What kind of motor? What advice would you give them? This is the episode for you. Plus, we're going to get some highlights from Sarah Lyons. How you doing?
Hi, good.
All right. Sarah Lyons is in the middle of a build. Also, mechanical background, right in the middle of her first build, and she's doing a great job. We want to hear about it. Then we got Kev, veteran conversion guy, working in software, working in hardware, and taking on crazy projects. Kev, how you doing?
Doing good, thank you.
All right. And then we got Talik. Talik's kind of like the man on the scene, man on the street. He's been in a Cybertruck, people. How you doing, Talik?
Hey, yeah, I'm still recovering from that drive in the Cybertruck, and man, I'm a little wondering what it's gonna be like to drive the Cyber Beast, but no, but for real, yes, I try to be at all the things I can get to within a day's drive here in Southern California, covering new, old, in between, and anything electric. Let's go.
Nice. And we'll pull up his channel, but he also contributes to other people's channels. What's the latest video we should pull up and talk about?
Well, I mean, you could pull up the video on my YouTube of driving the Cybertruck. Up today, being uploaded. I don't know if it'll be out in the next day or two, but the video for Out of Spec Renew on Tim Allen's Vic should be dropping any day now on Out of Spec Renew, which is the new Out of Spec channel talking about conversions and reusing batteries and whatnot. But yeah, so if you go to Driving Cybertruck or Cybertruck Mania, those are some cool videos there. Cybertruck Mania was the first gathering, at least I know of more than like 3 or 4 Cybertrucks. We had 7 Cybertrucks at one point, 9 total throughout the day. That's kind of a vlog of like
looking at Cybertrucks.
Driving around. It was Cars and Coffee in Santa Clarita with a bunch of Tesla owners. Right here, you're seeing Craig with Unplugged Performance. They were taking Dark Helmet, their record-setting, heavily modified Pikes Peak challenging Model S. They were towing that to Button Willow with the Cybertruck, and then he drove the Cybertruck. In fact, their video of that happened to drop today. So definitely check out what Unplugged Performance is up to. Craig, he's a great driver. He's also a professional drone pilot. You might have seen a movie with his drone scenes in it, but that's Dark Helmet right there. Anyway, so yeah, lots of exciting things happening in the new arena, but I'm also covering the conversion of our classics because, you know, just because something has a classic on it doesn't mean we have to get rid of it. So we convert it. There we go. That's Revolt's Instagram page now, showing off the vehicle I got a chance to record and see rolling around. It's pretty awesome. So you check that out on Out of Spec Renew. And back to you, Ron.
Okay, so now here's the thing: people got to realize this community is important. I just want to point out this is kind of a big deal. What you're looking at on the screen, I want to emphasize what Talik's showing here. This is a classic hot rod that has a Tesla motor in it, facing the same way as the old V8, and this is for Tim Allen, and this is with Eddie from Revolt. This is a big deal. So. Eddie from Revolt has done some conversions in the past, but I think this is the one that will probably end up, if I were to predict, end up on Jay Leno. And so this is the type of vehicle that would be on a Jay Leno. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, Jay Leno and Tim Allen are friends, so
exactly. So Talik, you already had a ride and did your video. You're just waiting for the upload. Is that right?
It's uploaded. I'm just gotta, so I'm not running the channel. Jerome Andre, who actually is the lead editor, I believe, for EV Builder's Guide, he's in charge of Out of Spec Renew right now. So depending on what day he wants that video to drop, you'll see it the next day or two, I think. at least in the next week. But that, yes, that car is definitely going to get you some attention on this market here. Especially, so Eddie's Mustang is pretty killer. Like, but the thing is that 60s Mustang, there's like a million of them out there. Whereas a 1934, that thing, when that thing first came around the corner, that thing literally looked gangster. It looked like 1930s gangsters now had a secret weapon to sneak up on the bootleggers, and they were able to get in there. But yeah, it was coming down the street at me the first time I saw it rolling. After I'd shot it standing still, and it's, oh man, it is mean. It's a little rough on the ride, but that's because it's got lowered. It still needs to be tuned. It's got to go back to Tim Allen's mechanic builder to get fine tuned. But that Mustang right there, that's pretty sweet too.
You know what's kind of cool? I just want to bring up is that basically this whole EV thing is just modern day hot rodding. Sometimes here and there you'll catch a little flack from someone at a car show or someone saying like, oh, how could you do this to a car? Oh yeah, these things are silly. They don't make noise. I want to hear the brrr of the engine and this and that. And I think everyone in the room here, I've said this probably on every episode. Everyone in the room here is, or in this space, is a car person. And so it's not so much that the electric is at odds with pistons. It's that this is another option, and putting a high-powered motor or engine in a lightweight vehicle is nothing new. This is just hot rodding. So pretty cool stuff. Yeah. So speaking of which, I think we should go to Ron's project first, just to kick this off, and then we will. Oh,
I was gonna get, while we transition. I'll show you some of the drive footage, but you can.
This is like a preview. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Go ahead.
So
that's Eddie driving.
Yeah. So when we took it for a drive, it didn't have a windshield yet. So the wind is in my face, and we were talking about how Eddie was like, "Oh, I should have brought my goggles and scarf with me this day." But this was driving around kind of near Johnny's house. Came over, and this is just a wild ride. So we're just sitting in the just the springs of the seats. The seats aren't done yet. They're still closing up. So this is like a week ago. So they still have a lot of stuff to close up here on the shot here. But here's Eddie, and then there's the motor right there. You can see, so I can reach through the window, the windshield, because it's not there, and you can see that billet right there.
That's so awesome. What a treat to have a preview of this video that's about to kick off. That's so cool. Nice. And Eddie is super cool, man. He is like, he knows how to do the software, the hardware. He's a grease monkey as well. It's awesome.
Yeah,
cool. He's got the Tesla Mino. He's got the Tesla pickup car truck thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Full disclaimer: the out of spec video is going to be less about the drive and more about the build and what they did. It's kind of a in-depth. It's about 48 minutes long, and they go into the cooling systems. They go into the BMSs. They go into all sorts of stuff. So if you want to get some nitty-gritty of what they did with Tim Allen's Vic, check that video out. So again, it's not much about I have a couple of little shots of it driving, but it's more about the build that they did with the electronic components.
Okay, cool. So, all right, so let's get over to Ron's car here now, because think about it. If you're a beginner watching this episode, you're getting excited by watching the Tim Allen video, Eddie Revolt, Revolt Systems, and Talik riding around in this crazy car. But let's bring it back home to the beginning. I mean, I started with a Volkswagen Golf sitting right back there, the red one, and needs some love. It's just sitting in the back of the garage. But that's how I started, and and so Ron, tell us a little about this car that you're working on. What's going on?
Yeah, so I should start off just saying I've been my whole life an automotive enthusiast. My career was in engineering, not in automotive, but machine building, and way long time ago, I saw the Lotus Europa at the New York Auto Show, and I just fell in love. I'm a young kid, right? Not even driving yet. Fell in love with it, and years later, I I was able to buy this one. It's a 1974 Lotus Europa. It's got a 1.6 liter twin cam mid-engine. It is in original condition, excellent shape, which sort of points to one of the criticisms I get right away because I'm in a club for these cars, and there's not many people I could talk to there about, hey, you know, I'm thinking of converting this to electric. Yeah, that's a special. Yep, that's the S2, a little different back on it, but same basic car. Yeah, you got a lot of good pictures there. Yeah, so I used this car when I was young, and then it just sat. It sat in the garage, raised a family. Only recently, last year, I got it running again, and it took a lot of work because car just sitting, gas tanks were all in bad shape. Put a new set of carbs on it, got it going. But in parallel to this, I've always been interested in electric cars. In fact, anything electric. I mean, I started with an electric lawnmower with a cord, and I was always like, this makes so much more sense than a noisy gas lawnmower. And so everything I've bought, like for lawn maintenance and everything, is electric. And I had on my radar screen, I want to buy an electric car as soon as I can. But I haven't yet. And, there's always some reason I'm not, the range isn't enough for what I need, then it's an extra car, blah, blah, blah. So then I had this thought, how about I take my Europa, that's the backbone chassis, by the way, and I convert it to electric.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm so excited about this chassis. You got to keep in mind, this is like a very special thing. It's called the backbone chassis. It is designed by Colin Chapman's team at Lotus. And the idea is to make it super stiff, but super lightweight. And it had the ability to have a fiberglass body. I saw this car at Goodwood Festival of Speed. I was lucky enough to go to that in South England. And this car was similar, an inspiration for the DeLorean. And the DeLorean has the same backbone design. Very interesting, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So this car, I mean, you have to understand a few things about it. It's a very lightweight car. This is the heaviest one the last year. It weighs about 1,600 pounds. It has a fuel capacity of 15 US gallons, and it's got twin tanks on each side of a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine. So it's never, the claim to fame for this car has never been like super high performance. Like it's 0 to 60 was probably in an 8-second range, but the handling of the car is amazing. So one of the first concerns I have when I think about doing this is not upsetting the weight and the weight distribution. I mean, I'm pretty much convinced that I'll end up having to increase the weight a bit, but that also depends on how much battery I need for the range I need. But I don't want to get into like mounting things that would throw the handling way off. So I have some initial like concepts of what I want to do, but I have not done a conversion. I don't know much about what's out there. So that's why, first of all, I signed up for the course that you're offering, and I look forward to that. But I want to learn as much as I can before I just dive into this, So, I have some thoughts how to do it. In fact, I got on this discussion group. Maybe you know it already. Do it yourself electric cars, and I found that somebody actually did one of these conversions on the older S2 Europa, and. I mean, they've posted some pictures. I don't have those right now, but so there's already been one done. I don't know. I got to find out more info on it, but I don't want to jump into it till I learn a little bit more what I'm getting into.
So that is definitely a very good point to bring up, because my first day going to Revolt, somebody else was bringing by a 1959 Chevy Corvette, and one of the first things Eddie does when he looks at it to give advice is, where are you going to put the modules? And so here they are checking out the engine bay and looking, where can I put a module behind the seat? Can I put it under the floor? How many can I put on the trunk? And so, yeah, this is definitely a part of the process. is, figuring out where you're going to put your modules, how many, and where are they going to go.
100%. 100%. Oh, looks like they might have scanned that interior. That interior. See those dots?
Oh yeah,
Scanned and powdered it looks like, so you can 3D scan it easier.
Wow. That's something you might want to consider, Ron. But in general, my advice when it comes to where to place everything, and you can go around we could go around the room about people's advice for this. But in general, you don't want to re-engineer the car. You want to try and get things as low and as center as possible. But wherever something was mounted in the first place, let's say there was an engine and there's engine mounts, those are they are strong and they're built strong from the beginning. And if you can grab onto those, you're going to have a secure spot. However, you might have to.
Can I just throw out a couple guiding, I guess they're criteria for me because to me, I'm in the feasibility stage and it doesn't get go ahead and funding till I'm happy I can achieve what I want.
Okay.
I want to make this so that whatever I do is reversible. In other words, I don't want to weld a new chassis. I don't want to create things that I can't undo. Now I know there's going to be some compromise along the way, but the idea is when you look at that car, the way it looks now from the outside, it's going to look the same. Also, the transmission on this car and the drive and the rear suspension is all integral. Actually, the way they kept this car so lightweight is the drive shafts are the upper links for the rear suspension. So I'd really like to keep the transmission exactly where it is so the rear suspension could stay that way and adapt up a electric motor, I don't know, without a clutch, with a clutch, that's stuff I don't understand. And then the twin fuel tanks, I think would be the ideal spot if there was a battery that could fit that space.
Okay.
Where are the fuel tanks now?
So picture, you see that picture there? Right behind the seats, the passenger and driver seat, they're just behind, I'd say, the bulkhead behind the seats. But they're tall. They're like canisters. They're tall canisters that sit low in the car. They don't sit actually on the frame, but they have some bracketry that connects the gas tanks to the frame. Now that might have to be bolstered up a little bit.
What's in that entire front of the car? Because there's a huge amount of space right there.
There is. The front has now what's up front is the cooling fan and the spare tire. And one nice thing is that backbone chassis. Once I pull out, there's cooling pipes that go through there for the coolant to the front. That all could come out, and there's room in that tunnel for any wiring that has to go from the front to the back.
Yeah, that's convenient. Yeah. Well, you got lots of space for batteries up front there, but then that's going to mess up. That's going to change your weight distribution. But
the other thing and I know I had this figured out, I was just looking at, I have 2 7.5 gallon tanks, right? Picture 2 canisters, 2 tall canisters, right? And I was looking at the weight of the fuel if those were filled, and I'm comparing that to, my frame of reference. I should have mentioned I have 0 electric motorcycles, and I used to have FX 0 bike, which had these modular batteries that you could snap in and out. And my dream, and this might be nutty, would be if I could create a tower on each side with these modular batteries. So let's say I'm only going to do an autocross or something. I just put the bottom battery in and I run that way, and I only need 20-mile range. If I'm going to go on a 40 or 60-mile trip, I put another layer in.
Well, this brings up a good point of energy density, and Engineering Explained has a pretty good video explaining the difference in size compared to a gallon of gasoline, and he does it with he shows a gallon for gasoline, and then he shows, I think, in soda cans the amount of batteries you would need for the equivalent amount of energy in gasoline. So unfortunately, swapping is a great idea, but what you might run into is realizing that you're going to need as many batteries in that vehicle at all times as possible, especially if it's a small vehicle. Ron, you were going to say something, sorry?
Well, basically, it's you got to realize that, okay, there is a certain amount of amps and there's a certain amount of volts that you need. And the volts times amps equals watts. Okay, so this is something you already know. However, then there's something called amp hours. All right. So let's say you had a battery that was 1 amp hour. If you're pulling 1 amp for an hour, that would be it. Then you're dead, right? Okay, so this is something you probably already know. However, when it comes to packaging, when you buy batteries, let's say you buy a Tesla module, which, Ron, have you seen a Tesla module before?
Not really, no.
Okay, I'm going to pull one up and show you what they look like. Let's do that, because when you look at
wait, you had a great picture of the fuel tanks there, what you just showed.
Yes.
That shows exactly what they look like.
Yeah, we're going to get back to that. So this here would be a picture of a Tesla module.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big rectangle, not too tall.
Right. And so the thing is that it has 25 volts. Okay. So even if you got, let's say you look at the stats, and if I crank this up, let me just make this a little bit bigger. If you crank this up and you look at this, you see that you have about 5 kilowatts. Okay. Now let's just say kilowatt hours. Sorry. Yeah. And by the way, you're only going to get, let's say at best, 3 miles to the kilowatt. Okay. So if you have 5 here, right, let's say, so 5 times 3, there you go. That's 15 miles out of this one module, right?
Okay.
However, you don't have enough voltage. You see,
to give you the power you need.
It is one module. So you would have to stack these in series to get to your voltage. And if you're going to do, let's say, a net gain motor and you want high speed, you're going to do 150 volts. So you're going to need 6 of these.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is just an example.
You can see
Kevin, go ahead. Describe it right there and zoom in, because if you talk, we'll see your screen. Go ahead. He's got it right there in the shop.
Yeah. So, well, this is my, compared to the size of my foot, this is how big these battery modules are. And I'm stepping on it because it's already a broken module. But that's
so
the infamous G.
Okay,
that's the size of it right there. And that's, it's a 6S, which comes to about 25, 29 volts.
So now if you think about it, right? So Ron and Kevin, just check my math. Basically, he's got to get to 150 volts. So he needs 6. And then if you're like, well, I'll just get rid of a few for lower capacity, but you're also lowering your voltage, which lowers your speed. So you would have to go from 12 to 6 to stay at the same voltage, because you put 2 series in parallel.
So I have a question though. How did Zero do that with this FX motorcycle that they had? I think they're 5.6 kilowatt hours. They're about this. They weigh about 42 pounds. It looks like a large car 12-volt battery. And you could run with 1 or 2, and you could swap them in. So you could be like one on the shelf, one being charged off, and
Okay. Kev could probably answer this.
Oh, and
I would
that's
say
similar to this, which is the Sur battery. You see this black thing right here? I'll keep talking so I'm in focus right now. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So that's the Sur battery, and that's 40. That's 72.
Can you point to it? Because there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I can't because I'm holding my computer, but
is that it on the floor there?
The thing that I'm kicking on the floor, I'm rehabbing that for somebody. The BMS died on this thing.
Show us
but they're swappable batteries. So as long as you can parallel them, and there's some limits to that. So let's say, one of them is 150 volts, the other is 150 volts. You can swap them and parallel them. But if you parallel one battery that's at 130 volts with another one that's at 150 volts, they try to balance each other out when you parallel them, and it causes smoking wires. So,
Well, I to be fair, Kev, I think that you're getting ahead. What Ron might not be realizing in the first question he asked, which I want to help him with, is he said, well, how did Zero do it? Well, here's the thing. The way you configure your batteries, your little 18650s, the little part of the battery. When we say battery, there's a couple ways of saying it. So there's the cell, the module, and then the pack.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So on the cellular level, which is what Talik has right there, that is a
check 1 2 check 1 2.
Nice. Is that an 18650?
Yep.
Okay.
Is that a Tesla? Cell?
No, it's just a regular little commercial battery.
I mean, it looks like a AA battery or something. I don't know.
So it's actually, because I had to find AA's, I'll show you.
well, in the Tesla packs, there's a whole bunch of those.
Yeah. So here's a AA. This is a AA, and then this is a 18650. So they're similar in like arrangement.
Yeah.
But the difference is, 18 refers to 18 millimeters wide and 65 millimeters tall.
So can I ask you something? I mean, the whole idea of the swappable is not that as important as keeping it reversible, as I said, but it's just an idea I had. But with these cells, is it possible to rearrange them in a shape, a module that fits the space you have, as opposed to, because most new cars like Teslas and stuff, they want a very big flat battery that goes under the car to get a low center of gravity. And that doesn't work with my car, definitely, because I got the backbone chassis and I got the seats straddling each side of it. So I'll never be able to put a flat battery under the passenger area.
Yeah.
So actually, this is where the Tim Allen lesson might actually help you out a bit. So they had to, they put 16 of those modules Kevin just showed you in that car, so that had the right voltage to run a Tesla motor. However, they put 6 of them under the seats. So if you see here on the screen, these rectangular boxes, these were built into the floor to house 3 modules each. So they have 6 underneath the seats. And you saw how small that car is. That's a coupe. It's probably around the same size as your car. And they were able to fit 16 of those modules that Kevin was standing on in that vehicle.
Okay.
See,
keep in mind, my car is only it's less than 4 feet tall. It's like really.
So let's compare your tank size to the module size. So do you know the tank size?
Well, I know there's 7.5 gallons. Well, okay, I could tell you just from when I
what's the volume of 7.5 gallons in cubic feet? So
yeah.
But I think to answer your question,
they're about, let's say, 22 feet tall, about 2 feet tall, let's say.
Okay, that works.
And the they're sort of rounded, but let's just say they're a rectangle, and they're probably maybe about 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches by maybe 12 inches on top.
Perfect. That's this.
That's one of those, or
That's
maybe
one
2
of this one.
So, but I think the question you were getting at is, can you configure those cells to be any arrangement you want to fit your space? And the answer is yes, but each one of these battery modules you're looking at now has, 444 individual batteries in it? And
yeah,
you can weld them together if you want, but that's a lot of spot welding and a lot of chances for errors, where these things are all welded by robots, machinably, repeatably, in a package that you probably couldn't do accurately enough by hand. So you're better off starting with a battery module that's already pre-made.
Can that be turned on end? Does it have to?
Yeah.
Any way you want.
Yeah, you can put them in any arrangement you want, as long as they're mechanically protected against banging into each other. And
Sarah, what do you got?
Does he really need the high voltage net gain?
No.
For such a lightweight car? Couldn't he fine with
no, but it's a performance car, and His problem is he has to show up into a Lotus crowd. So
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but the
can't-
net gain,
we can't
high
send them
voltage and
out
regular
there.
is about the same power.
yeah, I'm not looking to be a street burner. No, that's, I'm not looking, I like the stealth approach where I'm just sort of creeping into my next event and everybody's like, where's the noise? Maybe I'm going to have a noise generator or something with a fake exhaust pipe or something, but
No, your tires will make the noise. Don't add any silly noises.
Ron, it's not about you and what you would want.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Less volts is less battery,
That's true.
Okay.
You don't
And I should
Sarah, you're
talk about,
100% right.
Okay. I'm not looking for incredible range expectations. The way I will use this car is it would be so much fun for all the local travel I do up here, which if I can get 20 miles, 40 miles tops, that will take care of most of all the running I do around here. And then I'd like to get maybe like 80 miles if I could, if I'm taking a longer trip. So if I go anywhere else, I would just tow the car and then ride around where I go.
So you're bringing up motors now, Ron. So are we going to talk about the voltages he would need and the pack arrangement for that?
Well, here's the thing. What I want to do is divert a little bit because the problem about, not for nothing, Ron, but getting into specifics about a theoretical situation is kind of difficult. But what we could do is we could show by example.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I must say, Sarah's right. If you had a 100-volt system, you could still have the net gain system. It'll just be lower speed and lower capacity. But well, it depends which situation you go with. But if you look at what we did as an example, for instance, right here, you see this Volkswagen bus?
Yeah.
Okay, so what EV West came up with a solution is, where do you put the batteries? Now, and without changing the frame, without it's reversible, like you talked about. They built a box, and then you could put 4 or 5 or 6 Tesla modules in there, and it hangs where the gas tank sort of used to be. Okay. And it takes up the gas tank space and also where the carburetors were and some of the air cleaners. And then your motor goes down below. And we have some photos of this over the summer. This is the engine bay right here.
Oh,
and over the summer, we converted a bus from gas to electric. And so we use that system. And basically, you could see here what these modules look like. All right, here we are at the EVLC, and this is like early days, and we're just figuring out like where they're going to go and stuff. But if you look at this situation, let me just scroll down a little bit till we get to like where they're bolted in. And if you look here, there we go. That's a good photo. See how it just hangs off the sheet metal on the roof of the engine bay?
Oh, yeah.
So there are solutions.
Yeah. So remember I told you that there's someone I see that converted an S2 Europa, an older one. And I have a picture. It's his picture. I don't know. I can probably send it somehow later, but he basically, you saw how the chassis had the Y going in the backbone, and then it's sort of like a wishbone. It went out.
Yeah.
What he did is he put almost a battery pack looking like what you guys have been showing me and sat it on top of the frame where my cargo area would normally be.
Okay.
And the thing that bothered me about that without doing any calculations is
Too high up.
It felt it's like too high up and too far back. It's almost like shifting all that weight back on the car, whereas everything was designed for this mid-engine to be, right near the center of gravity of the car for quick handling and everything. So that's why I keep going back to the gas tank location if that were possible.
Yeah, you might want to look at another. We're going to help you, but I'm just giving you we're trying to show you examples because figuring out your car exactly tonight, that's going to take some time and some drawing and some drafting. But by example, we could show you what other people have done. So there's
Well, let's let him ask his question. So
oh yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, I mean that's no
serving the
problem.
questions.
But also there's cars out there like this one here. This is a 914, and it has saddlebag basically. You know, I'm trying to find it. Battery mounts, and so he puts the batteries like you're talking about where the tanks used to be.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find it.
They're spread all over the car in this one too.
These black boxes are holding batteries down low.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of like what I'm talking about. Yeah, with the motor, you know, because I won't have the big heavy. I call it big heavy because I don't know the exact weight of the. It's a cast iron block with aluminum head, twin cams. You know, that all comes out, which frees up like access to to what I'd call the battery area. And because the motor would sit fairly low like that one and direct couple, I think, to the transmission, which is another whole question is about, you know, can I leave that transmission in? Do I leave it in a
This is a
certain gear?
mid-engine car as well, the 914.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to your next question, which is a very basic question. We know about this question. We handle it a lot. Is how do you hook up to your existing motor? And there's another shot of that
Oh, that's a
engine
nice
bay.
one. Yeah.
So Sarah, you want to take this one? Is she there?
Yeah, how to hook up to the transmission?
Yeah.
Sure, there's well, you'd have to have a mount made because I doubt that CAN EV has a mount for your transmission, but there are a couple companies that have them. I'll grab mine off the shelf.
So yeah, like sort of an adapter that would go from the back of the transmission flange to the motor flange.
Yeah.
What happens to the clutch? Does the clutch come out?
Depends.
Yeah. I don't want to be the only one talking here.
Okay. I mean, go ahead. Show that first.
Oh, that's the adapter. Okay.
Sarah, describe it. Go ahead, and then the camera will be focused on you.
Okay, so this is the adapter.
This was an off the shelf for your car.
Yeah, for this Suzuki Samurai, and maybe like the Geo Tracker as well. And it comes with a little. Let's see.
The coupler.
Yeah, the coupler.
Yeah.
That I haven't done this yet, but you put this in the oven.
To make it expand.
Put this in the oven.
Yeah.
And then you slide it on.
This motor shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got one chance to slide it on the motor shaft completely before it cools, and then it'll compress. But I forgot what they call that. You're depending on the heat to expand it, and when it cools down, it's not coming off there again.
Yeah. So what's been explained to me is that you really end up only shifting from like you're in second gear most of the time, and then you shift up to third, and you guys add your 2 cents on that.
Sure. Yeah, I could explain that. Go ahead. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Nope.
Okay. So Ron,
So could I just ask Sarah, there's no clutch, or you have a clutch? You left the clutch. So
You
everything.
have the clutch. Yes.
Okay, so you still have the clutch pedal, you still have that whole thing, you still have your shift knob.
Yes.
yes.
That's great, because that gets back to not changing that to me,
Yeah.
you know.
There's
But
a few different reasons to keep the clutch, and I think Ron's about to get into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So someone might ask you questions about why would you keep the clutch, and why are you doing that? And it's very simple. I can explain it using a bicycle analogy. So there's two things when it comes to a transmission, why you even have one in the first place. And that is that your engine either runs out of RPM or torque. So for instance, and this is something you probably know, I'm just expanding on your question. So bicycle analogy real quick, you go in first gear. What do you run out of first? Do you run out of RPM or there you go. RPM or torque? Obviously you're strong enough to go in first gear. So you run out of, your little legs can't go fast enough. So you switch it up. Now, let's say you're in 10th gear. And I'm sure they make more speeds than that now, but let's say you're in 10th gear. What do you run out of first? Torque or RPM? And in this case, it's torque. Because you just can't push it any harder. Right. But you got more RPM in your little legs. Yeah. So now the motor that Netgain sells has a similar RPM range to your gas engine, somewhere around 5,000–6,000 RPM. It probably goes up to about 8,000, but like let's just say it's around there. But the torque it's more torque, so now you don't need first gear.
Right.
And so you have a lot more torque available. Hopefully you don't break your transmission.
Yeah, I would think it's almost dangerous to be doing it first.
Yeah, well, it's more probably about the torque than the RPM. But anyway, so that's the reason you keep it, because you do need to shift. However, if you have a Tesla motor that revs to 16,000 RPM and has 500 pounds of torque, you don't need a transmission. That's gone.
I see.
Right, eliminated. So it'd be like if you had legs that could really pedal really hard, and you had like thighs, like just thunder thighs,
Yeah.
So
so keeping the transmission is good in a sense, because then I can also play with what gears work best, I think, right?
100%.
So can I ask a really dumb question?
Oh no, bring it.
Electric motors, I thought you reverse polarity and they go in the opposite direction.
That is a great question, because that's something that I've wait, I interrupted you. I'm sorry, but
no, that's a question, and it's just that I would have a reverse gear, but
do we
use it be useful to have that?
Yeah, do we use the reverse gear, or do we use a switch that spins the motor in the other direction?
Kev, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So in a DC motor, you can switch it by just switching polarity and it goes backwards. But like the Hyper 9 we were looking at, you're electrically changing the phases so that it goes backwards instead. And it's actually a whole lot simpler than in a DC motor, because you need multiple relays and everything, and to get the DC motor to switch polarity in the right way to go backwards. So in short, in my DC motor system, I always leave it going forward. I use my reverse gear, and that's all fine. But in an AC system, they very easily go into reverse. They go in reverse just as fast as forward, and you use a reverse switch, and you don't use reverse in your transmission.
Yeah.
And to add to that, in the Volkswagen case, which the bus and one of my conversion cars is based on, the reverse is the weakest link in there and the most likely to break. So if you can avoid using that reverse gear, then just use second gear, but run it backwards, you'll be better off.
I see.
Okay, I'm glad that you asked that question, because the person I'm doing this with, Lauren, her idea is to rent this car out, which I know is insane, but I also think it's a really cool idea as well, to teach other people about EV conversions. But she wants to keep it as simple as possible for somebody just jumping in the car who maybe has not used a manual transmission car. So we're going to have to teach them how to shift between second and third. But if we could just do the reverse switch instead of having to shift it to reverse also, we were wondering if it was possible even to create some kind of plate that would only allow you to shift between second and third on the other gears.
Okay. That is okay. You're on the right path. You're on the right path. I have a few ideas for you. I'm sorry, Ron. her question is more interesting. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm learning. Go ahead.
Okay, there's a couple of things that you could do. And you know, Sarah, to be fair, when you first spoke of the renting, I was like, whoa, slow down there, you know, and it was only because it was your first conversion. However, you can do it with the realistic idea in mind that you're trying to simplify and make it as user-friendly and reliable and serviceable as possible. And I think you guys have really moved it towards that direction. I hear you speaking in engineering terms and user-friendly terms. And that is music to my ears, because a lot of people get wild and they try different stuff and they're like, yeah, and it's this and it's that. I'm like, whoa, you need to simplify it on your first conversion. So going down the right path, you can eliminate some gears. They can either be removed from the actual transmission, or you could have a gate that locks them out. 100% right, just like on a old school Ferrari. Okay,
Ron,
yeah.
I sent on your Instagram. I sent you a picture of the Hyper 9 with the coupler.
Okay.
If you want to talk, because you were talking about how to bolt it onto the transmission.
Oh yeah.
The adapter plate. Sorry, the adapter plate.
Oh yes. Oh, I have that photo. Yeah. Okay. I'll get to that. Give me 1 second. So you can reduce the gears. So yes, and Ron, you might even want to do this because maybe you lend out the car to a friend or family member. So and Sarah, so
No,
reducing
I'm
the
the only
gear.
one that ever
Yeah.
drove it except my
Don't let
son.
anybody else touch your car, Ron.
Well, no, the whole idea is I have two sons and my daughter, and you know, if the car actually becomes easier to drive, because it's very difficult to shift, by the way. It's, if you look at their shift linkage, it's a tube that goes way to the back of the car because of the transmission is behind the engine. So unless anything is sloppy, it doesn't shift well. So this is an improvement, not having to shift.
Yeah. Now you're really not going to have to shift that often. It's really going to be gear 2 and 3. Okay,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. However, you definitely are going to you can reduce the amount of gears, Sarah, if you want, by restricting it. But you can have a reverse switch. So now no more reverse, no finding reverse. And if they don't find it, you know, it'll grind, or they'll roll while they're trying to find it, and that, you know, that's no good. But the other thing, if you want to get trick, you can, yeah. This is, I don't know, this is like a bit, maybe version 2, but in version 2, you can actually have something on the output of your transmission that is a reduction gear, push button reduction gear.
Like an overdrive.
Like an overdrive or something. Yeah. And you'd have to look at the aftermarket for that. And they'll be at SEMA, and they make these things all day long. Nothing new for off-road vehicles and hot rodding. And don't even say that it's a gas or electric car. You know, you don't just There's push button reduction gears. Kev, what do you think of this?
Yeah, we're trying to keep this simple and original. So leave all your gears in there. You can change your gate on your gated shifter to block off those two, but it's not going to hurt anything to put it in 5th. It's just not going to work very good. And leave everything original, and leave your clutch, because one, it's a safety measure. If shit goes crazy and you want to disconnect your motor from your drivetrain, you put it in neutral or you press the clutch, you got another safety there.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, you know, to be able to do that.
And it's you know, it never happens, but if it ever did, you'd be a little safer there.
Yeah, how much horsepower did the car have originally?
Horsepower was 100. Well, the federalized version was 106 brake horsepower, and the European one had 126. Because
a Hyper 9 is probably going to be similar horsepower, just better torque. Is that correct, Ron, Mr. G?
What's the question? So I was looking something up.
I'm just trying to see how much, because you know the advantage of going with the electric motors is going to have better torque, but the Hyper 9 horsepower rating is not super high, right?
No, none of these are very high horsepower. This is 120 horsepower for the 120 volt.
So that's another reason to leave the transmission in there, so you can take advantage of the the performance of the motor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's, I mean, the torque rating of the motor is, it's 100. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's 113 brake horsepower at 6,500 RPM, 104 foot-pounds at 5,000 RPM.
So here you got 172 foot-pounds, about 120 horsepower, but it's at 8,000 RPM.
Okay. I just have
So
to be careful I don't destroy the transmission because that's expensive to find.
Right. You just don't stomp on it. That's
Well, the one thing you don't want to do is don't do a neutral drop. Don't pop the don't rev it up and then let go of the clutch in first.
Yeah, but
gear.
there's a funny phenomenon when you drive electric. Like ever since I've had the zeros, whenever I'm at a stoplight, I can't do anything but go full throttle because I just have to leave all the cars behind.
yeah, I have that problem in my Rivian for sure. So
Oh my God, the Rivian's got so much power. It's crazy.
yeah. Well, I'm in the rain today. It's like, oh, and all-wheel drive, so I just stomp on it. I'm not going to spin any tires. Traction is not my problem.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, I sent you two more pictures, but I don't know if they're going to be, they're not JPEGs. They're in a PNG format, something. I don't know if they'll come through to you. But these are pictures I took from that do-it-yourself conversion. So it's another owner's pictures. So I didn't get his permission to share his pictures, but it really shows you.
Oh, okay. This is great, actually. What you're showing here.
Yeah.
Let me talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of motor that is.
Yeah. So that's also a net gain, but that's a DC motor. So that's got a ton of torque. He's got the adapter plate. So I would call this guy and get his adapter plate pattern.
Unfortunately he has a different transmission. This is an S2 and it had a different 4-speed Renault and transmission. Mine's a 5-speed Renault. Now that's what I was talking about with the battery pack. See how it sits way up high there?
Oh, this is a recent conversion. This happened recently, right?
I don't know. I got to get more information.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Revolt box.
Yeah.
That box is from a friend of ours in Philly named Brandon, and he sells you this box that's modular. Now this guy got fancy and put a nice clear top so you could see the batteries. He is sitting up a little high. That is true. You could figure out a way to saddlebag it down here. That's what I would do. However,
that's where your butt goes.
Right. Kevin's right. This is where your butt is going. You're going to sit low in this car. So you're going to have to get creative with how you put these batteries in. And also, you know what's weird about this conversion is it's a modern conversion with DC motor on it. That doesn't make sense. You have no regen. And this is kind of a mix and match conversion. I wonder if they started it.
That Impulse is a faster, stronger motor. They're pretty rare. But still, they got the DC motor.
Which also means you didn't have to deal with an inverter.
Right. But there's a motor controller, but it's the same thing.
You still have some sort of controller, and it's not an inverter, but it's because the inverter goes from DC to AC. In this case, it's DC to DC, but it's pulse width modulation. I have it on this car, usually from Curtis.
Kevin, why do you think he would have picked that motor?
Oh, probably because that's what he had around.
Okay, not because it's like maybe better for the application.
No, I mean it's got a ton of torque, but everything I do was on the cheap, so I used that's the motor somebody gave me a deal on. That's what I used. Although if you're doing a frame up complete restoration of a car like this guy did, he's not as concerned about the cost.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering. Like, what? Is there a lot for
one advantage of the DC motors is they do have a ton of torque. So people that I know that use these for drag racing just need to go real fast for a short amount of time, and keep it simple. They use DC.
Okay.
Good stuff. Just on screen right here, you can see that this is a This is a net gain motor on the bench with the adapter plate and an aftermarket flywheel that's aluminum.
Yeah. With no
Light-
starter teeth in it because you don't need them.
Exactly. And then also it's got a high performance clutch. And then if I can try and find, I don't know where it is, but somewhere in here is us putting that coupler on there. Oh, here you go.
Did you mess that up the first?
Yeah, the bolt got bent.
Oh yeah, I totally screwed that up. I didn't get it. I hit it, but I didn't hit it hard enough or something. I don't know. Something happened.
Oh, I didn't know it was you. I thought that I did. Yeah, I walked in on the nightmare moment of.
Oh yeah, we had a few nightmares in there. It was fun. But yeah, so you're gonna want an AC motor. So you have regen. Now you got an AC motor on that motorcycle, right? You have regen.
Yes, excellent regen. Yes.
Yeah. So just imagine, don't you want that on your car?
I do. Yeah. So I have to have,
And it's
okay. So that's like a
programmable.
basic thing I didn't know. So I need an AC motor to have regen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm smarter already.
And you can program how much regen you want. And in the case of the bus, we made a switch there. So you can go from 2% regen to 20% regen if you want. So if somebody's more comfortable in driving an automatic car that doesn't slow down when you take your foot off the gas, maybe they want less regen. But if you want the manual transmission feel, put it on more regen.
Yeah, that would be terrific because we have a lot of hills here. It'd be great to go down.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm like when I start out with the 0 at 100% here, I got this big hill I go down, but I can't add anymore. So
Right. And the motor controller will prevent you from regenning to a dangerous point that would overvoltage the batteries. So, but that's even a worse feeling because now usually you have regen on and your motorcycle slowing you down. In this case, it doesn't. It turns regen off and you just coast down the hill.
Yeah. Could we just talk cost a minute? I just want to kind of frame you guys, I'm retired. We just built a house here in the Catskill. I'm not like buying let's say a 40 to 50, that 50,000 Tesla is a stretch for me right now. That would be nice to get. I'm thinking I can do this for $15,000 or in that range. Am I way off? Is it 20, 25?
Sarah, you want to take this one?
I think it depends how many years you want to work on this. Maybe 15,000 a year.
So Sarah's doing a build. You want to give us some ballpark?
Yeah, I think that we ended up getting a kit from Legacy EV, and we could have sourced some things maybe and gotten it a little cheaper here and there, but since it was the first time, it was like, okay, just set us up, and then and it was about 20.
Okay.
But we had five Tesla modules and the Hyper 9, the 100 volt, the lower voltage Hyper 9.
And this is AC. This is an AC motor.
AC system.
That includes that coupler, the whole, the transmission thing. It includes 2 chargers. Yeah.
Which one is it? You think this one? Hyper 9 kit builder.
It wasn't quite. It wasn't. It was a little more custom than that.
Okay.
But yeah, some sort of like that.
So that motor comes with a controller as one package, and it's the SME controller, but that's what's there. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's pretty much everything on this.
Nice.
Yeah, the whole car ready to go on the bench.
Yeah. But I will say that slowly, I learned oh wait. So they gave me 2, this is more information than I've told all these people yet. But they gave me 2 wiring diagrams and they were different. So this was the newer diagram And let's see. This was their older diagram. And this one was like easier for me to follow because it has images of things on it. But the other diagram includes the 12-volt system wires, like relays and stuff. So it was, I am not an engineering background at all. I've worked on cars for 8 years, but mostly I just was a old motorcycle rider since I was like 20 and rode motorcycles around and just like learned how to fix things out of necessity. So I have like interest, but not a lot of engineering background. So like getting them to confirm which wiring diagram, I mean, the whole thing was bonkers. So I had parts that like trickled in, like, oh yeah, this one, we forgot to send that part. And, but they were really helpful.
So there's Ron, there's just a couple of things that flashed in my head, questions. Can I ask them?
Yeah.
Because they're like the first one's like, okay, I'm not going to have heat in this car, right? Because I don't have.
You can.
But do I really need heat? I don't know if I really need heat. I'm not going to drive this in the winter up here. I mean, it's still going to be a 3-season car, maybe.
Well, it depends. Do you want your wife to go with you or not?
She hates the headrests.
Oh, well, that's, yeah.
Wow.
She'll definitely hate it if it's 50 degrees in the car. So that's an excellent example of something to leave for the next iteration to see if you need it, save your money and don't do it off the bat. People have reused heaters from other cars, come up with different ways to make heat. The best way is heated clothing or a heated seat. It uses a whole lot less power than blown air heat that you normally would have in a car. So if you put on even heated seat covers, leave the seat stock. You want your stock Lotus seats, but these, eBay Chinese heated seat covers, put those on there. Yeah. But make sure you size your DC to DC converter that takes the high voltage from your battery pack and makes 12 volts that the regular car stuff uses. Size it large enough to deal with those kinds of power hungry appliances to come later. So
yeah, in fact, you just answered my other question. I was pretty sure I need to keep the 12-volt battery as is, which actually nestles right next to one of those gas tanks. I mean,
however, your 12-volt battery does not need to crank over the engine anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be a whole lot smaller. Like on mine, I use a small motorcycle battery or even a bunch of 18650s to just, first of all, drop a whole bunch of weight because I don't need a big lead acid battery. You just need a 12-volt battery. But then you also need this DC to DC converter in there that charges it up. It replaces your alternator as something to keep your 12-volt battery fully charged.
Okay.
Let me add this. You're an East Coast guy like me, and you're Northeast, and you're going to need heat. It's not an option. It's not an option. You have to have it. But there's a couple ways to approach it. Like he was saying, like Kev's saying, one of the ways would be heated seats for sure, heated steering wheel, and potentially you can run the heat off of your high voltage, which would be more efficient.
That's true.
Yeah, we just ordered one of these heating elements, and I was gonna, you guys tell me if this sounds insane, but I was gonna take out the box where the heater core was and put this element where the heater core was, because I think they're kind of the same size.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me.
You just need some kind of safety to make sure the air is running through there when this heat is in there, because this thing can overheat and melt your heater box. Whereas your gas engine one never goes above 200 degrees or whatever when you've got radiator water going through it. This thing can get seriously hot. It probably has its own protections in it, but
he's right. That's 100% right. So you could put this in there, but and the advantage is that you're keeping everything stock, so your blower works and all your vents work the way they were supposed to work. However, if you do this, it's a resistive heating, which is super hot. And if it gets out of control, yeah. So if you put in some sort of safeguard, maybe it can't go above a certain temperature, or maybe it turns off at a certain temperature. That would be really cool. You know who did heat really good, I thought, was Mark Brems from 914, Porsche 914 electric. He did a pretty good one. I think it's necessary, because you're going to be driving around. You don't want to have no heat. I mean,
Right.
I had a
Just what I suggested is like, if you wanted to leave it for, last, that's
Yeah.
a perfect example of something to
Phase 2. Yeah.
wait till you really need it. But,
Okay.
you'll
One other
probably-
question that's burning in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
do it.
New York State, what's the deal? Right now the car's on historic plates in New Jersey, right? Which is good
Yeah.
because they don't inspect the car on historic plates. I don't know if we could talk about this, but
It's simple.
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What's the difference? Just swap. You're doing an engine swap.
I'm taking away any emissions, right?
No, but
Because
you're done. You're done. It's 25 years old. You're done.
yeah.
Are you re-registering in New York? Because Catskills.
No, I don't want to touch it because I still have an address, the apartment that my son's in Jersey City. So I use that for that car.
Yeah. So you just renew it like it's whatever, because you don't have to go.
Yeah, I don't have to tell anybody that it's okay. You got to register it as some kind of, electric vehicle.
I'm not sure why it matters. I mean, it would be great if we could have some state official or a lawyer on the show
Okay.
with us, but I really don't think I'm saying anything taboo here. I just swap the motor. What's
Okay.
the problem?
No
As
one-
long as you got brakes and you got
Right.
and you're
Right.
registered, put plates on it,
Yeah.
pay your insurance bill,
Yep.
help old ladies cross the street.
Don't ask too many questions. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you just every state is different, and check your own state's regulations. But
Yeah.
in California, it's a problem because everything, no matter what your historic plate is, 76 and older, has emission checks. So it becomes a real pain. But all my cars are not qualified.
Like, let me ask you a question, Ron. If you swapped it for a V8, would you involve the state of New Jersey?
No. So you're right.
Forget about it.
And I did, by the way, when I did the veggie conversion on my Volkswagen Jetta, although later I found out that I probably could have been arrested by the EPA for running on fuel that wasn't specified for that car. I don't know.
Oh, what? Because you didn't pay the taxes on the veggie oil?
No, I guess because I didn't pay tax on veggie oil and it wasn't emission checked, to run on veggie oil.
Oh, yeah, it was just an experiment.
That's right. That's what it was an experiment. Yeah, that's what this is, an experiment.
I mean, we did one here at the school. We did a veggie car. It was fun, and we made French fries, and then we used the used oil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just sold our F-250 that was able to run on both diesel and vegetable oil.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
So you guys are really encouraging me because that's one of the things, and I'm glad I found your, contact, Ron, to get on this because I don't know, I get mixed feelings. A lot of people I told you from the club, they're like, think I'm nutty, how can you touch? And the car keeps appreciating in value, by the way. So
You can always go back, keep your
Yes.
gas engine. I mean, that's the one suggestion we do too, is like, don't sell your stuff you took out of it either, because
Right.
you may still need a bracket or a hose or something out of there. But,
yes.
you can always go back. You're not cutting into it if you decide you don't like this, but I think you'll be fine with it. This
Yeah.
could be a suggestion for other club members too, because isn't that an interference engine?
Oh,
Oh no. Yes, it is. The twin cam.
Right. So this
Oh,
is
yeah,
one of
you
those,
lose
if your
the timing.
timing belt breaks, you've grenaded the engine. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
chances are another one of your club members will come crawling to you and say, I
Yeah,
grenaded my engine. How
well-
do I do this?
I mean, it's also the car's coming up to 50, it's over 50 years old. Yeah, it's going to be it's a 74. Am I right? I don't
Yeah.
know. But it's if I kept it the way it is, it's going to need work on the engine. I'm going to have to rebuild the engine, do something with the gas. I'd rather take that all out and, like you said, put it aside. And
We have an expert in the room who just joined us.
Why choose a
We
sleep
can
resort?
ask, wait, hold on, Talik. Who can wait? Stop sharing for just a second. Who can answer the question? Is it worth it to convert your car to electric? And Johnny, how you doing, man? Oh, you got to unmute yourself. There you go. So let me.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Man?
Hi.
Let me just introduce you to Johnny. He worked at EV West for a while, and he's got his own thing going on now. And he converted a whole bunch of cars and land speed record cars and whatnot. And so the question came up, should you convert your classic car to electric? Johnny, you got any regrets of going electric there?
I mean, I guess it comes down to the fact that no matter what's producing a lot of horsepower, it's still going to break stuff. So that's what I'm learning with the truck. Since this is the second time I pulled that motor out and rebuilt it in a year.
Oh, man.
But
well, to be fair, you put a Tesla motor in this thing.
And I like hauling ass, so it's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, that's why you do it, right? So,
yeah. It's just hot rodding. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So, like when I was at car shows, people would say to me, "Oh, why'd you change it to electric?" We're just trying it out, man.
Yeah.
Just trying it out.
It's very intriguing to me. The whole, I mean, it's like a real challenge to me, like to be able, I'd be smiling if I could drive this thing electric.
You would love it. You would absolutely love it. Johnny's been putting a Tesla motor in the back of this thing. But Johnny, I want to show you what Ron is a new to the scene.
Okay.
He's never done a conversion, but he's a retired engineer and he's kind of into it. And so he
Awesome.
so check this car out. I feel like you'd appreciate this one. He's got this car.
That's pretty neat.
That's an old Lotus.
What is it?
That's a Lotus with, go ahead, Ron, tell us the car.
Yeah, it's a 74 Europa, Lotus Europa. It was, Lotus has always been a racing company, and they came out with the Elan, first the Elite, the Elan, Europa. Then they went up market with the Esprit. There's me fiddling with the carburetors. I wouldn't have to do that anymore.
Geez, I hate balancing carburetors.
I wouldn't have to see that exhaust system that could come out. So much stuff I could take out of that to make room.
Tons of room for batteries and everything up there. Yeah.
And it's easy to get in there. You just straddle. I could step in there and work in there. It's not like
it's got a cool frame, and he was trying to think about where to put the batteries.
Oh, it's got like a DeLorean frame.
It's the same frame.
Actually, the story there is that when DeLorean was trying to get his car in production, they consulted with Lotus to really get it going, and Lotus put their backbone chassis into it.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting car.
Mm-hmm. And it's fiberglass, super lightweight. This is like the perfect electric car.
Yeah. So,
There's always one of them. It was an Elise that was always rotting up in Half Moon Bay that I was trying to buy off this guy. But it was really,
you say Elise?
Really in bad shape. Yeah, I think it was an Elise.
Yeah, because that was the newer, the newer series they had,
Yeah.
2000 up.
It had the glass back with the engine in there. I don't know that much about them, but I mean, it was like, it was rotting in the moist sea air out there. So it was in terrible shape, but I'm sure that engine was grenaded.
This is someone who already did a conversion, but for whatever reason, they put a DC motor in. But this is really nice and clean.
Yeah.
And then they also put the batteries up high, but they're using that amp revolt modular box configuration.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like you could rotate the batteries 90 degrees and then split them and straddle that what is that, a suspension crossbar?
Well, yeah, I mean, the transmission is under that. I'm almost amazed he could get the body back on with such a tall battery pack, with that up high. It's just got to fit under the back is up high a little bit, but.
It looks like you could fit 3 modules behind that bar. Anyway.
Cool.
Well, I got some work to do, just to, maybe with time, if I take some of the info you got tonight and then sketch some ideas, maybe I could run and by your group again.
Yeah.
So Ron, I was going to bring this up earlier, but today Monroe Live uploaded this video talking about packs, from the cells to modules all the way up to pack size, and they talk about all sorts of different examples. They show Lucids, they show Teslas, they show all sorts, because Monroe breaks down, they do tear downs to kind of not really reverse engineer, but to inspect how things are built. So they've torn down a lot of battery packs, and it appears to be, I haven't watched it yet, but it appears to be a good video, and there's an ad playing, sorry. A good video really talking about how packs are put together. So if you want some research, this would probably be pretty good watch. It's in the chat. It's the Monroe Live video.
Okay.
Nice. I like it.
Oh, cool. I see it. Okay, great.
Well, to bring things home and kind of wrap things up, I want to give Sarah a chance to give a little tour of her, if she's still down to do this, give a tour of progress on her project and talk about it a little bit. Do you want to do that?
Sure. Did you get my email with the 2 images?
Yeah,
okay.
I have it. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, we'll make this real quick because we were trying to end it.
Yeah, no problem.
Now.
Bonus. No, that's true. Yeah, let's do a bonus one real quick, and then we're out of here.
Sorry, I took too much time.
No, you're good. We want to help you.
No, that was so great. You didn't at all.
We didn't have a guest today, but we did after all. So you were the guest.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
And it's the whole point is to help people. That's the whole point of this. So go ahead, Sarah.
I'm so new at it. Anything I can hear from anybody, any questions that other people's questions that get answered, I always learn. But yesterday, Lauren was here and we were discussing where all of our parts were going to go. And she did this drawing on her phone, which I thought was pretty great. We're still like figuring out where everything's going, but we have 2 we got that electric brake booster.
Oh, nice.
And we're trying to decide about electric power steering, if I can fit a used Prius power steering onto the shaft and still fit the battery box. So we'll have 2 modules in the front above the motor and 3 modules in the back underneath the where the gas tank used to be, which is right underneath all of that. And the chargers in the back too. So
cool.
We're trying to decide about weight distribution, and which was Ron's question also, because we're going to end up having the rear of the car will be heavier than it was by about 100 pounds. So what do you guys think, having an extra 100 pounds in the back because of the batteries? But I thought, well, there was a seat back there, and if there was a person sitting back there, it would have.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's my immediate thought. Yeah.
Okay.
I got about 600 more pounds in the back of my truck right now, so anything's drivable.
But you keep breaking it. So what?
That's because
I have a flat foot.
Yeah. So is that enough? Do you want more of a tour? Is that enough of a tour?
You know what? One other thing I think is important that you probably you just do it out of necessity, but you might not realize you're actually doing a really good job. Is the bench setup. can we see your bench setup and talk about it a little?
Yeah, I'll try to not make you sick by holding the laptop here, but here's our ignition that I pulled out of the car and the throttle that we got from EV West. Various relays, and I have a couple different, like one set of fuses is switch to power. Here's our DC to DC converter. Am I pointing this at all? Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing great. You're doing great.
We've got 2 chargers for 6. Yeah.
And that's great because now you can run it like probably 6.6K charging instead of waiting at like 3K or what, 3.3K.
Yeah.
We can tell stories about that in the bus, but yeah, the 2 chargers just gives you faster charging, and you still only plug in one J1772 plug into this thing, and it uses 30 amps or so to charge it then.
Yeah, I put a 40 amp breaker in the panel. Here's our various high voltage fuses, the 2 contactors, BMS, our 5. Oh, what?
That's a great idea. So you just laid out the whole design on a bench.
Exactly.
It goes in the car.
Exactly.
Well, that's why I was gonna ask the question of like, why did you decide to build everything on the bench first?
Because it was challenging enough for me to understand the wiring diagram and where everything like connected. Like I'm so new at this that it just made a lot more sense to me to lay it out, make sure that it worked before I had it attached to stuff in the car. And also I didn't know where anything was going to go in the car yet because I don't, like I said, no experience. It's like, and so as I've been doing this, I become more familiar with all the components and, so we can mount this controller, on its side on the firewall. So yeah,
It's a lot easier to work on, I guess. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is slower, but I was slow anyway.
Yeah.
So
now you'll be slow and confident because it worked on your bench. So
exactly.
The only downside is you're going to have a lot of wiring you'll probably just have to throw out because it's not going to be long enough to work in the car. So
that's completely true. But another thing that I learned that I didn't even know, like I was buying primary wire from AutoZone, and not so now I know gauge. Like what
was it too heavy gauge for what you were doing, or
so I was able to find like it was a little heavier than I needed for some things. And then I bought like, I'll buy these boxes of but this is really shitty wire, turns out, or not, maybe not shitty, but I finally learned like, you get the, what is it, TXL or what is it? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? What kind of wire? What?
Is it the brand of wire or the rating of the wire?
It's like an automotive
wire. I mean, yeah, like you definitely want high quality that's like got good insulation and whatnot, and you don't want to buy it little piecemeal. They're gonna overcharge you at AutoZone,
Yeah. So, but I just had.
What did you find? Maybe you're helping us. You're assuming we know. What was the brand you found?
Let's see. Well, it's. I think. I mean, it just has a. It's not necessarily a brand.
Johnny, is there a certain brand wire that you prefer, or you just use what you got?
I think it's the rating or grade of wire that she's talking about.
TXL.
Okay.
It's just a type of automotive wire that I think it has like it's like thin insulation or something like that.
Cool. All right, learn something new.
Sarah, it looks like you have like a nice work area. I mean, that looks big.
Looks like
a shop. Yeah, we're renting 2 bays.
Wow.
The other two are vacant right now, so I'm trying not to expand myself over there. But yeah, we've got two
Nice.
buildings and one lift.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so I just started really cleaning, started my cleaning process here. But
Nice.
and I built the battery boxes. We're trying to decide who to buy battery boxes from. So I made cardboard examples, or I don't know if I'll fabricate the boxes myself, but it seems like Amprevolt has a good system, and then the EV West 2-module for their Beetle, I think, seemed like a pretty good one.
Cool.
But, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap it up here, but maybe we can get it would be cool, I think, as a little preview. Johnny, you got to pick a week that you want to come in and here you are rebuilding your DD on. Maybe give us the backstory on your journey through research and development with a daily driver.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be awesome. And you found some flaws in the seals, and it'd be cool to talk about that, when we can highlight your videos and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Awesome. Did I see you purchased a plane? Are you getting crazy with a plane now?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, you guys keep your eye on Johnny 5 there, because he doesn't just do land vehicles. He's into the sky too. So
It's coming at you from all angles.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna end it here. We've been going for a while, and I really appreciate everybody coming in. The Mr.G EV Hangout. Sarah, is awesome seeing you, and I like listening to you learn and hear things that and then me, I'm like, you're like, oh, don't you know about this wire? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Let me see. So we're all teaching each other stuff. It goes both ways. So appreciate that. And Talik, he's kicking butt with all these videos and whatnot. You'll give us a highlight before we leave. And Kev, doing great stuff, backing us up with all the DIY stuff. And Ron, you're going to do great. Lay it out on a bench.
One more link I put in the chat here, and how I've gotten around the cost of this is lots of people start EV conversion projects and abandon them or go in a different direction and so forth. So this DIYelectriccar.com is one of the very good marketplaces for picking up used electric car conversion gear rather than paying full retail price for it. There's also a lot of good Facebook marketplace. There's a lot of Facebook groups on buying used or repurposed electric car gear. So I've bought and sold lots on these forums.
I'll just add that, Ron, Kevin's right. I actually bought someone's failed project in the past, changed it to make it work again, and then sold it. I had my fun out of it. And, it was a Pontiac Fiero, 1988.
Nice.
And that was that's actually got a bit of a backbone situation going on. Yeah. And, I would have done it differently, but they did it a little, it was 10-year-old conversion. But you're going to learn from all these different people. And a lot of people do give up on their projects, just like the hot rod industry. So he's right, 100%. You could probably buy something for a song,
Yeah, and just to set expectations, I have bringing the car to my club event, which this year is in Austin, Texas. It's in September, right? So I mean, it's last outing as a ICE propelled, and then so I won't actually do the conversion until this coming winter. So this is all about getting all the components designing it, getting the components together, and then over the next winter, starting it.
No problem there.
Battery boxes and getting them set, and BMS wiring is the most tedious part of that. Do some BMS wiring.
Are you going to Circuit America?
Yeah. Well, it's not that that's one of our stops. I've been to Formula One race there a few times, but we're outside of Austin, and this is the national club that I'm in with Lotus. We get hundreds of Lotuses showing up. Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're gonna be super popular. Let me tell you, Colin Chapman, add lightness. He totally would have gone electric if it was available.
I didn't mention it earlier, but Lotus is still around. They're owned by Geely, a Chinese company. But they still have the factory in Hethel, England, and they're just putting out the Avira, which is their last internal combustion engine Lotus. Everything from this point on is electric. They've made that switch.
Wow.
So the Tesla Roadster will come back.
I was going to say, let's all remember that the Tesla Roadster, the original Roadster, was intended to be based on the on the Lotus. Yeah.
Yeah, the Elise. Yeah. Good.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. All right. Well, looking forward to seeing you again. And next week, maybe we could have Johnny do a whole update if he wants to do it. And then we can kind of, get going on this. Oh, go ahead,
Next
Tom.
week we're slated to have Alex from QC Charge, right?
Oh, okay. That's right. I'm sorry. Kevin, tell us more about that.
Yeah, Alex from QC Charge just opened his Seattle, Washington office of the global QC Charge. They do rehab of Tesla motors, Tesla repairs, as well as RAV4, which is based on the Tesla system, and the Mercedes A-Class electrics. They also do electric charging gear, chargers, extension cords for EVs, things like that. So, although they've ramped that way down. So he's going to talk a little bit about the repair problems he sees on Teslas and other cars similar, how he's gone to fix them, workarounds they've gotten. He'll probably talk about his coolant bypass system, which I think Johnny is working on too.
Yep, I just weld them shut.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all I
so
do.
and that would be great if you can join us. This is the options. I mean,
Yeah,
the option for the coolant bypass is much more expensive, but it's a common problem in these Tesla large drive units that the coolant seals fail and flood the inverter and bearings with coolant, which makes them not lubricated anymore. How they've gotten around this problem in a couple of different ways. So,
I think they're in Oregon, not Washington.
sorry, yeah, he's
Yeah.
Oregon, okay,
Yeah.
and it's all up there to me. I don't know. Yeah.
Awesome.
And he just is open. He couldn't join us this week because he's still opening his shop, but
Yeah.
he should be less busy next week and able to talk with us.
Cool. And Talik, what do you got for us?
Well, basically, look out now for weekly updates from Mr.G. We got because there's a lot going on.
I don't even know what's going on.
Don't even know.
We're finally taking all our video from the summer and making something of it. That would be
well, that's a project as well. But this intro was made from that. But this is basically Ron's going to give you weekly update what's going on because there's lots going on. So
this is great.
Including tonight's podcast. So we definitely want to make sure people know about the Tuesday podcast, not only the live chat that we have here, but also to share it once it's been recorded. So once it's published and you have a friend that's like, oh, I got to do this this DIY build, I have a friend that's interested in, like Ron here tonight. Send them this episode so they can learn along with Ron tonight on the kind of the one-on-one questions, as well as Ron, you have a class coming up this week, right?
Yeah, so at the end of this week on Sunday, I'm teaching a basic 4-hour crash course on how to convert your car from gas to electric. It's going to be mostly hands-on, and I'm going to have some shitty coffee, but there'll be good donuts. So, you should come to that. And but yeah, it's in Hackensack.
Sign up for that class.
What's that?
How does one sign up for that class?
Oh, that would be on rongrossinger.com, Mr. G's workshop, Hackensack, New Jersey. And I also teach classes on welding and whatnot. We're just throwing a little advertising in just to keep people informed of what's going on. I also talk about my high school shop class projects. You can see here we're doing an off-grid system with the Victron unit kids are all putting this together. I'm more of like a coach than a teacher these days. And what's kind of cool is you can actually see the kids putting it all together. I'm going to publish photos of them working on it weekly. And yeah, we're lucky to have all these cool guests. I feel, really honored that Johnny's here. He's got an off-grid system as well. And it's awesome having Sarah in. I love seeing Sarah's journey. And Ron, you're at the beginning of your journey. This is the coolest thing. So I'm just glad that everybody's a part of this. And Talik's helping me with editing and co-hosting, and I really appreciate that. Plus, we got Kev backing up all the tech. And Ron, you should know something is that Kev is a DIY. He will not buy it if he can make it. He will make it. He'll try and make it.
And I certainly won't pay retail. So
he's not paying retail.
All right. That's how I can control the budget. All right.
Yeah, it's doable, man. It works,
Good.
So, all right, well, let's wrap it up. Anything else anybody wants to add? Okay, that was it. Crickets. Let's do it. All right. So thanks a lot. And see you guys next week for QC Charge. All right.
Thank you.